Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are live. We are officially live. Welcome everybody that is watching to the second debate night on Motivate Me 313. Today I have Kwame Simmons and I also have Kareem Abdullah in the building. Today we will be discussing if students should return to face-to-face learning. That is the discussion today. So if you guys are watching, feel free to chime in your thoughts, your comments. While we are waiting, I'm going to go over the rules one more time for people that are out there that are new to this format. Basically, the rules are this. Each contestant has 1 minute and 15 seconds to answer each question. Once the 1 minute hits, you guys will see me waving my this little wand finger thing right here so that they know they got 15 seconds left. The guests, by the way, never received the questions, so they have never received the questions before, so they are just going off the top of their head or whatever they have prepared. Please, as the contestants, respect the person's answer, so while someone's talking, you can mute yourself or just stay quiet while they're talking. You will have a chance to rebuttal, as I mentioned to you guys before. You know, be professional. We have people watching. Just letting you guys know that, you know, try to be professional. I mean, obviously you guys are both professionals. Audience may comment, ask questions. I will save your comments to the end. Remember that all things said during these debates do not reflect my thoughts, beliefs, and opinions on the topic. This is a platform for people to speak and for me to be the moderator. At the end, please comment who won. We would love to share this with people and see what their thoughts are of who commented, who won. And then just for future reference, message us for any debate ideas. And if you want to take part in the debate, just message us on Instagram or on Facebook, and we would love to take that into consideration. We have somebody already commenting, that boy Kareem looking goofy. Just want to let you know. Kareem, just want to let you know. All right.
Hey, I'm the underdog right now.
All right. Kareem said he's the underdog. All right, so we're going to get this going. First, we're going to respect our elders, Kwame, and I'm going to start off with you and ask the question to you first. Remember, the topic today is, should students return to face-to-face learning? All right? So my first question is broad, Kwame. It's, why should students not return to face-to-face learning?
Omar, I appreciate that, and as well as Kareem. I think this is really a great dialogue to have. So many of us are having this at the coffee pot and, informal in the driveway. And so for us to just really be transparent about this and just kind of have this discourse, I think it's going to really be good for all three of us, plus, all of your viewers. So I really appreciate that. So just to really jump in. So I think it requires some background. And so when you talk about going face-to-face, let's define that. So when we say going face-to-face, what does that mean? It means that kids are going to a place that's defined as a learning institution where kids are actually evolving with their knowledge. And so the challenge that I have is that we suppose that all kids were actually getting what was intended for them before COVID, right? And the fact state that they actually were not. And so when I speak as an African-American male, right? And 25% of African-Americans are actually 39% are in poverty. And so those 39% of folk who are in poverty, over 70% of African-Americans go to schools that are in impoverished communities. And so we know that there are links between poverty, health, and wealth that are connected to these schools. And so if we're saying that pre-COVID, these were the conditions, why would anybody consciously then send their kid back to an environment that was already struggling to do what they were supposed to do prior to COVID?
All right. Thank you so much, Kwame, by the way. I appreciate that. We already got people commenting saying take kids back to school or give up half the teacher's salary. You're going to have people definitely throwing out some crazy comments out there. So, Kareem Abdullah, I'm going to pass it to you now. First question, like I said, similar to his. Why should students go back to school face-to-face learning, Kareem?
Yes, sir, and I appreciate you for the opportunity to speak up.
No problem.
Well, I have many reasons on why kids should be in school today. For example, it's a known fact that kids who are infected with this virus don't show the same severe symptoms as an adult would. And out of every case in the United States, only 7% were kids. I feel like kids nowadays don't have it all right at home. And sometimes kids go to school just for that peace of mind, to socialize and communicate with friends, to get everything that's going on at home off their mind. A lot of kids don't have it right at home, especially, I can speak for myself. I have parents who worked my whole life of me going to school. I used to have to walk home from school. And not everyone has their parent at home. And with parents having to stay at home to focus on their kids, more especially with schoolwork, it stops their income. People survive off that, you know? And a lot of kids don't have it right at home to where even they have to go out their way when they're not in school to help their families survive. And one thing about it is it hurts. It hurts the youth, especially with developing communication skills and social skills. Not being around people, learning how to control their emotions with different and other people, especially with different races and other cultures. It's a big thing, man. It's hurting the youth.
Okay.
I think they need to step up, make sure they take more caution on it, and do their job.
All right, so thank you for sharing that, Kareem. And I'm going to let now Kwame, if you want to rebuttal off of what he just said. Is there something you want to say off of that, or?
Sure, and I think Kareem makes some really good points. I think, again, when we talk about the socialization of kids in school, let's unpack that. So we say that we want kids to actually come back to school and socialize, but an African-American student or a Hispanic student is 2 to 3 times more likely to be suspended when they come to school. And so when we say we want them to socialize, actually what we do is create a school to prison pipeline when we send our kids to school. So all kids actually are not getting, what we think they should be getting when they come to school and socialize, because the diversity is not being accepted inside all schools. And those numbers of suspensions are even higher in your suburban areas where there are more white students than there are black students or brown students in those schools. And so I don't think that is a strong enough foundation to just bring kids back. Now, I would also put pressure on the schools. So if a school community knows that their families struggle to create a total virtual environment, then they create other options so that families can then connect. So like Kareem stated, he said, his parents work. And that's a proud fact that you got 2 parents that are working and taking care of their family. So then the school should then create options for Kareem to be able to go to a satellite campus within the school, within the community, at a church or at a community center, or even at the school. My challenge with schools is that they did not communicate these things early enough so that parents and teachers could prepare effectively. And so that's my indictment, that we have known about this virus significantly since March 13th. What have schools been doing all of this time while we're still trying to figure out what should be taking place?
All right, thank you so much for that. And Kareem, I'm going to give you the chance. You don't have to, but if you want to, of course, you can rebuttal. Is there anything you want to say off of what Kwame just said?
I would like to.
Okay.
I would like to, yes.
So go ahead.
Well, when he says that they have to take precaution, the coronavirus has been around for 8 to 9 months. Teachers should want to step up, because I know teachers should be able to withstand a student and control a student, because I know teachers who have kids who've grown up to be amazing. So why can't you step up and do the job for the kids in the community that you work for? You have to step out and do your job. You're the one getting paid for it. Parents are going out their way to focus on other things. They don't have a lot of time on their hands for them to do your job. At the same time, a lot of people are struggling, especially in the Detroit community, which I am from, and I was born and raised. Not everyone has it like the suburban kid. So when it comes to that, I think maybe you guys should come together and think of a better way to handle the situation on your end. On how you guys can take precaution, on how to make sure you guys keep your guys' kids safe.
Okay. It sounds like you guys are kind of agreeing with each other in terms of schools doing a better job preparing for the situation. So next question, I'm gonna start off with you, Kareem, and then I'm gonna go with Mr. Simmons. So Kareem, do you think it's fair putting educators and students at risk for returning to face-to-face. Would you consider that fair? And why?
On my end, I do consider it fair. Because like we just spoke on, they should take more caution on students, and the teachers should be more prepared for themselves to take caution of the students. And there's many other ways to handle the situation. Students, you can come up with an idea to where you can have 30 students in one classroom, the biggest classroom. I'm sure schools have big classrooms and small classrooms. If you're sitting the students in a big classroom, 6 feet apart, everybody facing the same direction towards the teacher, and you have them students sitting in that class and the teachers move classes. There's other ways. There's other ways to handle. That's just an example on how to handle the situation. You know what I'm saying? And another thing is,
it's all right. We can flip it. We can flip it to Kwame now. We just can flip it to Kwame.
I forgot the question.
It's okay. Let's flip it to Kwame now. So, Kwame, some parents feel that they're playing both roles, parent and teacher at home during the virtual learning. Do you think it's fair parents have to play both roles while possibly doing their own jobs from home?
Short answer, yes. When you become a parent, you're the first teacher. So parents are responsible for providing lifelong learning for their kids. Like, as a parent, I'm never off duty. So even we're talking about 180 days, just 8 hours a day. I'm on 24/7, 365. So I think the answer is yes. But I think the qualifier though is if schools are receiving funding to provide that support, how are they owning their share of responsibility? And so I think the school districts have to do a better job of communicating in a new environment how they're going to be effective with providing supports to kids. And I'll give you an example. Catholic Central High School and out here in Novi, for example, knew in May that there was no way they could open up virtual. Their parents are like, I'm not paying to do that. Private Catholic school, that school would have closed. Excuse me. So then what they decided was to go full throttle to figure out how they could get inside, how they could open up face-to-face in the fall. And so what did they do? They knew immediately they would go, their building could fit 1,200. They have 900 boys there. They said, this is what we'll do. We're going to go half and half, so 450 to Kareem's point, support social distancing. They were very strategic around how kids transition from one class to the next in between classes. They had facial recognition for temperature checks, and then they invested heavily in a air filtration system that's similar to a hospital. I'm okay with that. That means you got a plan that you're trying to really figure out on how you're going to get kids in and out. I haven't heard 90% of districts do the same thing that Catholic Central did. And so that's where my pause comes in. And so the last point that I'll make before we transition is, if you are in a lower socioeconomic status, which means that you lack education, you are in a poverty-stricken situation, you probably have poor health and lack of health options, quality health options. If those things are pre-existing COVID, why would any conscious person then send their kid into an environment that could be a community spreading situation, a super spreading situation, and nobody is doing anything about it? Why would you consciously make that decision? And my response is, you should not do that. That's like playing Russian roulette. And so even if you are not getting, if kids aren't spreading, their parents are primarily frontline essential workers. Yeah. And so what happens, they then can be asymptomatic and then spread to teachers. And so even though students aren't, there's still adults who are there. And so it's still a volatile situation and unsteady, which is why I remain in the position of saying no.
All right, so guys, I just want to let you guys know the way Zoom works is because I don't have the Pro, so it gives you 40 minutes. And I guess as soon as you guys logged on at 7:40, the 40 minutes started. So the way that this is going to work is we have literally 6 minutes left. So if we could shut our answers now to 30 seconds or so, I'm sorry, but that's just the situation. I don't want to cut off and log back on because we do have people watching. All right, so
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Kareem right quick. So, do you think social distancing will be maintained during school? Do you actually believe that it will work?
It could, yes, of course. How hard could it be for a teacher to maintain students? How hard could it be for an adult to maintain a child? If they want to do it, they can do it. If they don't, that's just them being lazy on their end. Because me being in school personally, and I'm speaking for 1,000 other people, teachers were hard. Teachers were hard on us. They didn't let us mess around in class or do what we wanted to do. They would step up, speak up, and we would get in trouble for the things that we did wrong. As long as you're taking the right caution, like I said, a teacher would raise their kid to be the best student that they could be. As long as they come out their way and step up for the community, everything can be ran right.
All right, back to you now, Kwame. Same question to you. Do you actually believe that social distancing can be maintained in a school environment?
Absolutely not. Anybody who's been inside a school knows it's hard to get an entire group of students to stand up and sit down at the same time. So when you look at the CDC's checklist, it's over 4 pages long in terms of what they're suggesting to parents in preparation for social distancing and being in school in person. 4 pages worth of rules for a kindergartner. Can you imagine what that looks like? Just imagine trying to take 15 kindergartners to the restroom, right? There's absolutely no way 5-year-olds are going to be able to maintain social distancing with any kind of efficacy for 6 or 7 hours. It's just not going to happen, right? And you think of middle school kids. When I was in middle school, I wanted to chase my girlfriend. Social distancing is not keeping her from me. You understand?
That's true.
And so it's the same thing in response. And so, people who are in schools, you think back when you were in school, even to Kareem's point, let's just use his point, but this time against him. He said that, it's important to go to school so they can socialize. That's what kids are going to do. And so socializing doesn't incorporate social distancing. They're going to come close to each other so that they can socialize and develop more personal relationships.
All right, thank you so much for that. And I'm going to now dish it back to you,
Can I
Kwame.
rebuttal on that?
I got questions.
On that?
You go ahead, Kareem. I'm just going to shut off I'm going to cancel a question or so, but go ahead. You can rebuttal if you want to.
Well, you have to think about the kids who need the extra help, to take the extra step. I was a student where I needed somebody to show me how to do it, over my shoulder, hands-on. A lot of students can't just look at a screen all day on a computer and stay focused and maintain the idea of studying and focusing on their school work. A lot of kids are staying up till 5, 6 in the morning playing video games, thinking that they can just push off the work. I know a lot of kids, in order for them to be educated, would need that extra help. And I feel like it's the highly powered that are making this decision. And if it really came down to it, it should be the parents' choice, because parents don't always have the option on to stay there and keep their kids focused on their tasks.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So like I was saying, I'm going to go ahead with, Kareem, you kind of touched on what I was going to ask anyways next, which is, do you think that virtual learning is as effective? So you kind of touched on that. So, Kwame, I'm going to ask you, some students live in households that don't provide proper living, heat, 3 meals a day, safe place to study and learn. Your response to that would be what?
Absolutely. That, I don't think that the school should own that all lion's share of the work. And so where those things happen, that's why you have different agencies within state and city government. And so where we find that there are families who are still struggling, that's why we have the Department of Human Health and Services to try and close the gap with essentials that families need. And so I think when, times like this, when we can find out that information, let's let everyone own what they're supposed to own. And so if the school can find that information out and connect them to those services, I think that's a great idea. But if schools try and be the end all, that's what's going to make them be even lower performing, because schools are already struggling to do what they're supposed to do. And that's to ensure that every kid has a high quality learning experience. And right now, that's not happening for all kids.
All right, Kareem, it's shown that we have 1 minute and 15 seconds, so I'm going to let you guys do your last closing.
Ask me the question.
The last question, Kareem, is final thoughts. Why should kids go back to school, plain and simple?
Reason why is, like I said, hands-on. And there's no reason on why they shouldn't, because we still have bars that are open. We have casinos that are open. We have stadiums that are open. What makes you think that people that drink, people that gamble are more important in this world than the kids' education system? We have to step up, and we have to make sure that the kids nowadays are going to be big enough to brighten our futures, our world. This is our world, and the kids that are in it are our future. So we have to do what we have to do to make sure that they get the best of the abilities to maintain, to make the future a great place.
All right, and Kwame, same question to you, but a little different is, why do you think students should still stay virtual?
Because there were issues, Omar, prior to COVID, and it's trying to play roulette and send kids back to school is like double jeopardy. And what ends up happening in the health profession, they call it double jeopardy.
I'm so sorry for those that are watching. I apologize. Like I said, the show ended. It cut off, and that's just kind of how it's going to end. And the Zoom meeting ended up cutting off. I apologize for those that are watching. And I apologize to Kwame, too, that was giving his last ending statement. Again, a great job for everybody. Thank you for those that are watching. Thank you for those that tuned in. And I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. And maybe I just need to upgrade to Pro next time to make sure that the conversation keeps going, or just have the guys log on a little later, because we logged on a little early this time. Thank you those for tuned in. I appreciate it, and have a great day.